Shiba Shabbat Shabo Hayu Halavim Omrim B'Mikdash. Today is the 5th day of the week. The Levites used to recite Psalm 81 in the temple. Lamneseich Halagitit La'asaf Haraninu Lelehim Uzenu Haria Lelehe Yaakov. Okay, some translation. Let's come back to the Amidah. Since we've done the first finished the first paragraph of the Shema, on page 74 in the green Siddur, and Eleanor will find it in her special linear. And we begin the Amidah with a little silent prayer. Well, I mean, the whole of the Amidah is silent, but this was an addition which came in later on. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tihilatecha, which we translate as, O Lord, open my lips so that my mouth may declare your praise. Let's take a look at these words over here. So the first word is the name, one of the names of God, Adonai. Anybody recognize where this word appears elsewhere in our prayers? And I'll give you a hint. It comes right at the very end of our Shabbat morning prayers. I'll help you a little bit further. Sorry?
Adon Olam?
Yes, Adon Olam. So what does the word Adon mean? In Hebrew, if you want to call somebody sir, you call him Adoni. Adoni, bevakasha Adoni. Adon means a master, and Adoni means my master. So actually, in Hebrew, it's a very polite way of calling somebody sir. It's biblical, my master, the sense of subservience to the other person, that they are higher, that they're bigger, that, that you... So you find this many times in the Bible, the idea of an Adon. An Adon is the master. And of course, the Almighty is the master of the universe. So he becomes Adonai, not Adoni, my master, because that is very particular, but in the general terms, the master of everyone, the master of the universe. And that is Adon. So remember that Adoni in Hebrew means is like sir. You want to be polite to somebody, or address him and say Adoni. If you don't know his name, Adoni, Bavakasha, whatever, That's how you would greet somebody in modern Hebrew. And then we have the word sefatai. And that comes from the Hebrew word safa, which means the lips. Why is it called the lips? Or actually, sometimes it is called language. If you just hold your hand there and come back to the the paragraph before the Shema, when we talk about the angels, just before Kadosh, 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 or just after Kadosh, 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 and there we say that the angels speak to each other and address each other. Just find the page over here in the green Siddur. Page 64 in the green Siddur, just before Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. It's this in the paragraphs before the Shema. And there we say that the angels, v'notnim reshut zeh lazeh, they give permission one to the other, l'hakdish liyotzram, to sanctify their Creator, b'nachat ruach, in a pleasant way. And here's our word, b'safa berura. Do you see the words b'safa berura? With clear speech. So in this context, the word safa means, okay. However, before we come back to our Amidah, I want you to look at the word safa and to see that within it is the word peh, peh. Do you see? Well, peh means a mouth. We have this in the story of the biblical story of the donkey with Bilam, who opens up his mouth. Peh. That's significant for our line again. So Safa. So why is Safa lips and Peh with the same root? Because obviously the mouth speaks with the lips. So therefore it makes sense for Safa, lips, and Peh to be one and the same. Now that brings us back now to our verse over here in Amidah. So Sifatai, this is my lips. Open, well, Sifatai, my lips, but the word there is Safa, which is lips. We saw the Shin, Pei, Hey, Safa. And we drop the Hey for this grammatical form to make it my lips. Tiftach. What's the word over there? What's the Hebrew word over there? It's the word for open.
Patuach?
Yes, patuach. Patuach is open, sagur is closed. Tiftach et hadelet. Open the door. Tisgor et hadelet. The t is the imperative. Tisgor is the command. Tiftach, you open it. Tiftach poteyach. We have this in Hallel. Open the gates of heaven for me.
Ashrei.
So, pardon?
Ashrei.
Yes, and Ashrei as well. Poteyach et yadecha. You open your hands. Thank you very much, Mr. Poteyach. Exactly the same word, poteyach. So tiftach. Sifatai, my lips, tiftach. And of course, is always and. It's either in the form of v or but it's a conjunctive. Fi. Now, this is a contraction. Hebrew does this well. It's taken. Hebrew is a very efficient language, and whenever it can, have you noticed that that when you have a page of Hebrew and a translation of the English is always much longer than the Hebrew, because English is more voluble. It needs more words to say the same thing. But Hebrew is very efficient, and if it can take two words and contract them into one, it'll do so. And here you have a good example of it. These are two words, peh, sheli, my mouth. And that contracts to peh, sheli, pi. So with two words, you get peh, two letters, you get peh, sheli, two whole words. Now, peh over here is, of course, the mouth. And that is what I wanted to show you in relation to when you looked at the word safa and you saw the word peh in it, the peh hey. Well, you've got it over here as well, except that we've lost it because of the contraction. But otherwise, you would read this as peh, sheli. And peh and safa will have the same root because lips, mouth speaks with lips. Okay? So, sifatai tiftach, open my lips, ufi, and my mouth, yagid. Now, I wonder if anybody will guess another place where we see this word yagid.
Is it a gid?
Pardon?
Yigdal?
No. I'm thinking about Pesach.
Is it a shank bone?
No, it's the Haggadah.
Oh, right.
Haggadah. What does Haggadah mean? To relate. So Yagid means to speak or to relate, to tell a story or something, to express. Therefore, you have Haggadah. Therefore, a preacher is called a Magid because he is a person who expresses ideas. He is a Magid. And Haggadah is to tell a story. And therefore, Yagid over here means Yagid will express. Tehilatecha. Well, what's Tehilatecha? Tehilatecha, your something. And what's the root over here?
Tehillah. Tehillah.
Or Hallel.
Well, okay.
Hallel, praise.
Mhm.
So Tehillah, come back to Ashrei. Tehillat LeDavid. How did we translate that here in our Siddur? Tehillah LeDavid, a song of praise to David. So Tehillah means praise. And therefore we find this a word many times, and we find this also in Yishtabach and in Baruch She'amar, because these are all about the verses of praise. So take a look at Yishtabach and see if we can find the word there. There we are on page 60. Shir Ushvacha, third word. Hallel, praise. That's Tehillah again. And you'll have this, I'm sure, in Baruch She'amar as well. So it's a word to look out for in many, many different places. And over here it means Tehilatecha, your praise. And there you are. In this one little verse over here, all the words are really easy so long as you can relate them back to their context. You lose them because of the form in which they appear, so you don't recognize their roots. But Adon is always master. Sifatai is safa, from speech or from lips. Poteach is to open. Peh is my mouth, is a mouth. Yagid is to relate. Haggadah. And Tehillah. And in other words, what I'm trying to say to you is that every single one of these words would be actually words which would be familiar to you from other parts of the davening, if only you could spot them and put them into place. Let's take just the first word of the Amidah now, or perhaps the first two words. Baruch. How do we translate the word Baruch?
Blessed
Yeah. And who are we blessing?
God.
So here's the fundamental question. Does God need our blessings? Same, well, does he need our praises? But what does it mean to bless God? What does it mean to bless someone? What is implied in the word to bless? If I want to bless my children, what am I doing other than
bringing them close to you?
very good? In what way?
Drawing them in?
Great. Because the word Baruch, which we translate as blessed because we don't have a better way to express it in English, actually means something much, much deeper in Hebrew. And once again, one needs to look at the source of the words. There are two sources for this word. One is Hebrew and one is Aramaic. Both of them are biblical. The one appears in the actual Bible in Tanakh, and the other one appears in the Mishnah. So the first word is a brecha. Baruch brecha, the same word. A brecha is a pond or a pool, a reservoir. And the Mishnaic word actually comes from the grafting of a tree, in which you take a branch and you draw it down and you plant it in the earth so that another shoot should grow, another tree should grow out of it. And that is called to be mavrich. It's the same word again, mavrich. So when you put these two words together, what you're doing when you're blessing is that there is a reservoir of spiritual energy, or in the context of your children, that Lawrence's idea, a reservoir of love inside of us. And you draw it down to that other person. That's what it means to bless a child. You are sharing your huge source of love deep inside of you. And you are, in a sense, communicating that, giving that, sharing that with a child. A child who's being blessed feels an energy from you, your love, that is being drawn into that child. You're drawing it down from its source within you. In the context of prayer, Baruch Atah Hashem, I draw down from you, God. I draw down from your reservoir of spiritual energy into this world. That's the source of the concept of Baruch for all of our blessings. Baruch Atah Hashem, I draw down to the world a spiritual energy with these words that I speak, which is a very amazing concept, because what we're saying is that ordinarily we would think that actions speak louder than words. Only actions can affect something. But Judaism, and although in Judaism we certainly say ma'asehu ha'ikar, that the deed is the important thing, but nevertheless the power of speech also produces a certain kind of result. Speech is not neutral. Hate speech, as we know, is not neutral. And love speech is not neutral. And spiritual speech is not neutral either. It actually affects or does something, changes something in the world through the power of our speech. That is why that when we want to describe the man in the Torah, and we talk about the four levels of world, which are described as domem, which literally means dumb, but it means the inanimate. And then you've got the level of tzomeach, which means vegetable, the vegetable kingdom, growth. And then you've got the next level up, which is called chai, which is the animal kingdom. And then at the pinnacle, you've got man. What word would we use to describe man? Well, we have lots of words for man in Hebrew. Ish, gever, enosh. We don't use any of them. When we describe the order of the universe and we want to describe man, we refer to him as a medaber. Diber, to speak, a speaker. The speaker, the communicator, the person who has the power of the voice. After all, what was prophecy if not the drawing down an energy through the power of the voice? What is prayer? Prophecy, of course, is drawing down from up over there down to here. Prayer is taking from down over here and lifting it up to there. Prayer is supposed to take us from inside through our words and elevate us and lift us to something higher, to something to connect with something more spiritual. But we also have this idea of a downward movement, and that's in the word Baruch. Draw down into myself the capacity to be able to find that energy inside of me, to be able to lift up and to touch God. So it's a down and up movement. But what is significant is the second word, which is atah. Atah means, of course, you. The point about the word you is that you can't use it unless the other person is present. I'm speaking to you. If you weren't present, I'd say I was speaking to them. But you means that you're in front of me. So when you say Baruch Atah, you mean I'm talking directly to you, God. You are present. You're in front of me. It's as if I can't see you and I can't always hear you, but I know that you are there, and so I'm speaking to you. Baruch Atah. I'm drawing down this energy directly from you, the source of the universe. Whoever, whatever, however you conceive it, but you are in front of me. It's direct. And that's very powerful. By the word Atah, the first two letters of it are Aleph and Taf. What is significant about Aleph and Taf? What's the first word of the alphabet, the first letter of the alphabet?
Yeah, Aleph.
And what's the last letter of the alphabet?
Tough.
Yes, tough. In other words, with all the words of the, with all the power of speech, and our power of speech in Hebrew is going to be between an Aleph and a Taf. Those are the tools we have, the letters of the alphabet. And that's in Atah. I could talk about the Hey of Atah, but we'll leave that for another time. And then, of course, the third word is the ineffable name of God, which we not only are not allowed to pronounce, but we don't know how to pronounce it. And so therefore we use a nickname. And when we see this word over here, which as you see over here is unpointed, we simply read it as Adonai. But look at the word. The word, the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav and the Hey, and I could talk for an hour about this name because it is there's so much spoken about it. But here's just one idea. The word for the present is, Hebrew word for present is hoveh. Hoveh. Hey, Vav, Hey. Okay? That's in this word, the present. The word for the past was Haya. It was. Hey Yud. In this word. And the word for the future is Yiyeh. Will be. Haya, Hoveh, V'yiyeh. The past, the present, and the future. What was, what is, what will be, is all contained in this one name of the ineffable name of God. Meaning to say that he is beyond our concept of time. He is the creator of time. He's past, present, and future, all in one, contained in this single name. Well, as I said, there's much more to this, and perhaps we'll talk about another time. But that is the beginning of this blessing over here. All right. I think I've overloaded you already for today. But as always, you start looking at these words, and I think there's two things to say about it. It's not that difficult, really, when you sort of look at the words. When you look at that first verse that we looked at over Hashem Sefatai Tiftach, nobody could come away and say, gosh, I've never heard that word before. They're familiar words. They're just in a form which are a little bit more difficult to identify. And the second thing is that when you start to unpack it, you just see that there's so much that's in every word, so many connections. The idea that in Hebrew that the word safa and peh, that mouth and speech should be the same, is brilliant, isn't it? I mean, in English, you've got lips and speech, and there appears to be no connection between them. But when you have peh and safa, it makes perfect sense. Of course you speak with the lips. So why shouldn't speech have the root lips within it?